Hello, my name's Richard Kent. Today I'd like to talk about the human ear. Now we're told in Proverbs 20 that the Lord God made the human ear and the human eye. And they're both miracles of design, so today we're going to talk about the human ear. We take our hearing very much for granted, but it's actually a very highly complex thing, our hearing is. You're very familiar with our two ears on the sides of our heads. But actually your ear is composed of three parts: the outer ear, which you can see, the middle ear, which is three little bones called ossicles, and the inner ear, which is a fantastic little harp, really, is called the cochlea nerve. And it all is amazingly cleverly designed. It's an amazing example of irreducible complexity. It couldn't possibly have evolved, and you'll understand that as I start to talk about the human ear. First of all, what is sound? Well, sound is sound waves which actually move backwards and forwards like this. And basically your outer ear, your pinna, is basically a trumpet to collect sound. Now your ears are pointing forwards, and your brain can work out where the sound is coming from, the left or the right, and in front of you or behind you. So effectively you have stereoscopic sound. So the sound waves are directed down the external auditory meatus, to use the correct word, but you would probably talk about an ear hole, down to your tympanic membrane, which you're probably more familiar as an eardrum. It's about the size of the fingernail of your little finger. And it truly is a drum, and it's kept very taut by the tensor tympani muscle, because this little drum vibrates. Now sound actually has different frequency in it. That means high notes have a high frequency and low notes have a low frequency, and different amplitudes, and that's the volume. And the drum vibrates with the different frequency and amplitude, and those frequency and amplitude is then transferred to these three little bones, the smallest bones in the body, called the malleus, incus and stapes, which actually multiply by a gearing effect, multiply the sound, the frequency and the amplitude of the sound by 22 times. To then cause fluctuations on what's called the oval window, which is much, much smaller than the tensor tympani, than the tympanic membrane. And the oval window causes the fluid in the middle ear to vibrate. Now, the middle ear is a miracle of design. There's no other way to put it. It's simply a miracle. Within the cochlea, it's shaped like a snail. This membrane, the basilar membrane it's called, has lots of little hairs on it. Some are long, some are short, some are thick, and some are thin. And they basically act just like a harp. Now, for example, if you've got a harp, if you can imagine a harp, and you would have a tuning fork, and you would strike a middle C on a tuning fork, what you would find is that a middle C on the harp would vibrate in resonance with the tuning fork. Well, that's exactly what happens with your basilar membrane. The hairs on your basilar membrane vibrate in resonance with the frequency and amplitude of all the sounds coming into your inner ear. And then what happens then is something quite remarkable. At the base of each cell is wonderful little cells which make electronic stimuli which go along the auditory nerve to your auditory cortex so that you hear stereoscopic sound. Let me tell you, this is a miracle of engineering and electronics. There's no way it could possibly have evolved. It's a miracle. God made the human ear. God made the eye. It couldn't have evolved. It is truly a miracle. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.